You would have 2 relationships.
But I'm
so
just
I
saying.
should get 2 then.
Oh, shit. Here we are. Moving on. But yeah, so when it comes to questioning, let's do like Jay does and get a list. Get a list of questions.
Get a list. Absolutely.
And it's highly important. Like, let's get a checklist going, because and if you're dating somebody who's an experienced poly person, they'll be familiar with, doing the things they need to do. And if you're not dating somebody who's you're going on a date and this person is new to poly, expect them to not know everything about poly. Trust me, there's so much that we don't know. I said this last time. There's so much that we don't know about poly. And we've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
And there's so much we don't know. And this is why we have the podcast, is to take our experiences and put them out there, and that's just why we do this. You'll never, ever, fully know everything about everything. As much as I'm trying to work on that, I still, like, quantum physics, it's, Anyway.
You can't see, but there's actual, like, mathematical equations and graphing charts popping up in the air around his head as he figures these things out.
No, that's just a fantasy of yours.
Why?
I'm
like the guy you had a crush on that TV show.
Numbers?
Yeah.
God damn it. I see where my place is here. But yeah, don't
worshipped and adored.
Yeah, I'm not arguing.
I mean,
I'm just saying I see where my place is.
All right, well, at least you recognize.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, whenever you're going into any kind of situation with somebody that's new to poly, you know what? And we've said this before. Don't not date somebody that is new to poly because they're new to poly. You never know where it's going to lead up to.
Right.
You don't know.
But please know going into it
that they're new to poly.
Right.
Be upfront about it. And the thing is that, and that's why you have your list of questions, and don't terrify them like, oh, how many partners do you have? I'm blah, 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 and then go off on them about how, oh, you don't know this, you don't know that, and well, you know what? Fuck you, okay? You're wasting both our time now, and you're the experienced poly person.
Right. I don't know my Myers-Briggs code.
Yeah.
You don't.
I don't.
How dare you?
I think I've done the test like 3 times. I still can't remember, and I don't know what it all means, and I don't know all of you. Like, yeah.
I'm
I
totally
think I'm INFJ.
I'm totally old school when it comes to personality tests. I'm still working on choleric, melancholy, sanguine, and phlegmatic.
You just spoke some other language.
This tells you how old I am. For those familiar with that test, that was an old way to do it. Myers-Briggs theory has taken over that. And there's always another theory, and there's always another thing, and there's always another thing that we try to break out as, this is the key for knowing all the things about this new person. So if you get them to take this test, then you will know if they are what you're looking for and how you're looking for them and all of this stuff. And no, just no. I mean, just no to everything about that. I mean, all these tools, the love language, the Myers-Briggs test, the personality types, the DISC test, all of it, it's the thing between the choleric melancholy thing and the Myers-Briggs thing. Anyway, all of it, they're wonderful tools, but that's all they are. They're not going to give you the ultimate answers for people. You're never going to be able to have somebody take a 2-minute test and sum them up and see how they'll fit your life.
No, because they can still take the test and come out with a certain thing, and they can still be a dick.
Right. And the thing is...
That's not going to be reflected on the test.
The thing is you almost can't be... very few people have the kind of introspection that they would be absolutely accurate with their answers on a self-test.
And
right.
if you're like me...
usually answer the questions the way you want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
The way you think it should be.
It's like if you're taking a personality test. And I had to take a 300-question personality test when I became a PI.
Oh, there you go.
And I found out why. Is because the owner of the PI company I was working for, their friend owned a personality test company. And they had 300 questions I had to answer. It took me about 2 hours to do this. But it's like, do you hear voices? Do you listen to your voices? And they repeat questions like, what the fuck am I going to answer? Like, I'm going to answer, like, yes, I hear voices and they tell me wear a tinfoil hat and that Cthulhu's coming out of the ground.
Oh,
no.
well, then they do the trick questions that you don't know how to answer.
Right.
When you hear voices, are they malicious? Do they tell you to do things? And it's like,
motherfucker, I don't hear
well,
voices.
what if I don't? But that they don't give you the option for that.
Yeah, and it's also like there was another question I think Crow had was something along the lines of, when's the last time you smoked marijuana?
Yeah.
Like,
what, today? It's one of those things that a lot of times I hear questionnaires and they'll ask several questions it's the same question rephrased
over and over again
to see if they'll get a different answer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I guess you could do that.
Yeah.
You could bring you a polygraph with you when you go on your first date. We're just gonna hook you up to these things. We're gonna ask a couple of control questions. What is your name?
Where do you live?
Okay. That's right. Okay. When was your, were you born on such and such a day? Yeah.
So it's funny you bring that up about a polygraph. If you watch the movie Mr. Marston and the Wonder Woman,
which is a great poly movie.
It is an actual poly movie about the guy that came up with the comic book Wonder Woman. And it is technically exactly that.
Yeah.
They hooked up, and I don't know how true to life this movie is, but it was pretty interesting because they did hook their future girlfriend, wife, to a polygraph. Mm-hmm. And the current wife was like, do you love him? And of course the polygraph is just gone. So yeah, I mean, you don't have to do that, but questions are highly, highly, highly important. And the thing is that you need to be open about the questions. You need to be honest about the questions, because you need to figure out what you want in the first place. You need to figure out what they want. And if this is going to work out, how's the timing going to work out? Like, do you want, how many days a week is okay with you? Mm-hmm. Are you okay with, we have kind of standing date nights. So Wednesday and Thursday are our date nights. And we kind of switch it up occasionally when we need to. But the thing is like, how many days a week? Are you okay? Like, how do you communicate? And that could be a multiple thing. How do you communicate in person?
Right.
Are you good at it? Also, how do you communicate online? Because
by a text or whatever.
Do you do texting? Do you do phone calls? Do you do...
Some people do emails.
Which
is something I learned.
It just sounds so slow.
Yeah.
Which is still...
It's amazing we're living in an age where email is slow.
Right.
That's
crazy.
So cool.
But, do you use Marco Polo? Mm-hmm. Do you use Snapchat? Do you use Facebook Messenger? What's the best way to get in touch with you? Yeah. How do you use Skype? All these other things.
There's a new thing, too. It starts with a D.
Discord. But yeah, there's so many different ways of communicating and types of communication that you can do. So it's very, we talk about communication all the time here.
Take a sip.
And you have to do this. This is why it's so important with poly, because when you're getting into a new relationship, when you're getting into going into a dating situation, you got to realize that unless you're solo poly, you have other people, and even if you are solo poly, the person you might be going on a date with might not be.
Right.
And so they have people at home. They might have LDRs. They might have comments. Might have whatever.
And hopefully they're all rooting for this.
Right. Not only rooting for it, but,
because chances are they've already vetted you.
More than likely. More than likely.
Well, it also gets more complicated if you're a solo person, you're trying to date a couple.
Right.
Or you're however many numbers you are, and you're trying to date
27.
One person or more than one person. So then it goes into questions. Okay, well, what if I stopped having feelings for this person and I'm still feeling, let's just say love. I still love this person. Am I going to be asked to leave? That kind of, there's a lot of different questions that come in depending on your dynamic.
Yeah, and that's a highly, highly, important thing. Like, if you are solo going into a couple situation, and say you're with, let's go with partner 1 and partner 2, because it could be any kind of combination.
Right.
So let's just say you fall madly in love with partner 1. Partner 2, it's getting there, but it's not really just some kind of personality clash.
What are you saying?
Shit, you saw right through that. Damn. No, let's just say you start having problems. And this kind of happened with us with X. I fell out with X, and we had to figure out how that dynamic was going to work. So questions like this need to come up before shit like this happens.
Well, and then there's stuff you just can't plan for either.
Yeah.
There's stuff that is going to change over time. So you have to be prepared for things like that too. But there's also a lot of questions that are, really the same questions that monogamous couples ask their prospective partners. You're going to want to ask those kind of questions too for your polyamorous prospects. Polyamorous prospects. Like, how long is your longest relationship? What kind of problems did you have with your last relationships? I guess questions like, what would you consider your most successful past relationship and why?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And what did you like about it? And different things like that. People don't want to talk about their exes, but you can really learn a lot about somebody and what they've been through and how they're going to process things in the future by getting them to open up about the things that they've already experienced and been through.
But at the same time, don't push them. If they had like a really, really rough breakup.
Well, even if they didn't and they just choose to
not
stay, private about that information, maybe they'll divulge it later.
Tip, just a pro tip for everybody listening at home. If you're talking to somebody about their exes and consistently all of their exes are quote unquote crazy, the problem is probably not them.
Probably not their exes.
Yeah, not the exes. It's not the exes, it's the person in front of you.
Right.
If they're all horrible, if they were all terrible on some level, or, just...
One of the best tips that I got about moving forward and healing from past relationships was making a list of all of the people that I had dated and
then hunting them all down. No.
Oh, that's already been done.
Yeah.
And then on the side of the person's name, write down what I took away from that experience, what I learned from that experience.
Was it their hoodie?
No.
She took the hoodie.
She did take the hoodie.
She took the hoodie.
No, I had my own.
Yeah, that's
She
true.
had a better hoodie.
Fuck their hoodie. It was a shitty hoodie anyway.
Exactly.
That's why the breakup
Smelled like sweat and
Ew.
no.
armpits.
Ugh. No. Just no.
Another difference in mono dating versus poly dating is just one of those things when you're trying to get to know somebody, there's a certain level, and I don't want to call it dishonesty, there's a certain level with mono dating where it's expected to have a certain amount of your best behavior. It's almost like the new dating fronting that goes on.
Right. I am a bad influence to start with.
You're trying to sell yourself in this thing. A difference there would be in poly, you just can't do that. It's going to be a disaster. Generally speaking, in mono relationships, I think it's generally a disaster anyway.
Oh yeah,
it's just a controlled
disaster all around.
It's a controlled fuck up.
I was about to say it's a controlled fuck up.
It's little by little the mess comes down on both sides, and you can kind of eke away a relationship. It's not healthy. It's not a good thing, but it is things that people do. So it's one of those things that you can see it happen a lot, and you see the masks coming down. In polyamory, the mask doesn't come down so much as it gets torn off, revealed, like, turn out your pockets.
So for those that are wondering what a controlled fuck-up is, I learned this in working in manufacturing. A controlled fuck-up is, the fuck-up's going to happen. You're just trying to control when that fuck-up's going to happen. It's just like, okay, this part won't be here till this day. We need to control it so that it doesn't fuck up before we get the part, because it will, and it probably will fuck up before we get that part. We just got to make sure we try to maintain the control before the fuck up fucks up bad. So,
but the thing is, the reality is, you cannot depend on NRE to save you from the mask coming down.
No.
And so that's one of the fundamental things of poly dating in poly relationships is radical transparency, and it's there for a reason. It's one of those things that people say polyamory doesn't ruin your relationship, it just shows you what's there. People have said that. People say that a lot. I hear that a lot. Just like you can almost fill in the blank. It doesn't end your marriage, it just tells you what's there. doesn't end your relationship. It just shows you what's there. Well, the thing is, don't you want to know what's there anyway?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be healthier for mono people to be radically transparent right away?
And that's the thing. Like, I would rather somebody, and we had this kind of a lesson with